Hello everyone, and welcome to part 3 of our Industryland summer webinar series here at Tuya Smart. We've already taken a look into what we're working on here at Tuya in the residential sector, and we've decided instead of running through our hospitality solutions single-handedly, we thought we'd get an industry expert on board here to have a discussion about the bigger picture and where we see the future of hospitality moving as we head out into the new normal. So without further ado, I'm really glad today to welcome the brilliant Florian Montag here from Apelio. However, you may also recognize him as the co-founder of Hotel Hero, which was recently acquired by Apelio. So Florian, huge welcome to you. First of all, where in the world are you today? Tell us.
Hello, Dylan. Great to be here, and thanks a lot for the invite.
No problem.
Whereabouts? I'm actually in the Apelio offices today, so in Munich.
Cool.
How about yourself?
I'm currently here I'm in Hangzhou at the moment, so close to Tuya headquarters. We've been filming a video today, hence why I've come a little bit overdressed. I
feel underdressed today.
It's all good. I mean, this was kind of the dress for today. We are recording a video that'll come out soon. We're currently in one of our partner smart hotels here in Hangzhou, and we've recently installed it to be a great smart hotel, and they're working really closely with us on some brand building stuff. So we're going to be really excited to release the video coming out soon.
Yeah, that's you told me about that a bit. So you guys, you have your own hotel with all the IoT, etc., all built in, right?
Kind of. I mean, like, we don't own any of our own hotels. We're not a hotel company. We're an IoT company. For a lot of the people who are watching will probably be aware of that by now. So this is a company. We're actually one of our clients. We work with them on installing the hotel, and they were really happy to work with us. Like my office, or our office, is 10 minutes drive from here. So they've been really willing to kind of help us build our reputation and allow us to come here today and film a great video for them. Actually, I'll give you a quick look around in terms of what we do here at Tuya. So instead of me going through a long PowerPoint presentation today and boring everyone, I'll just kind of give a quick run through on like the guest experience of Smart Hotel, because some of you might have seen it today already. Some of you have never seen this before. So it'd be good to just give a quick flash look at how perhaps this could look. So, I mean, here in China at the moment, what we built is a solution that's kind of flexible to do smart hotels. So we can offer voice. At the moment, it's in Chinese because I'm in China. So let's say, for example, I'm going out and I can say, 小只管家, 小只管家, 我出去了. There we go. And then it's a bit dark. So 小只管家, 小只管家, 我回来了. There we go.
And it even works. That's always the thing when you try to show things.
Oh, it's
sometimes like, oh no, it doesn't work here. It works.
You know,
perfectly.
it's that second time round is the most nervous time you can get. It's like, please listen to me. But yeah, I mean, like the safer route in that case, I should have just gone with the app. So what we got for it is like a mini app for guests, which has been really useful to COVID, and we'll kind of come back to that later on. So it's not like a downloadable app. It's just when you check into the hotel, you get a text. You can open up the phone and, for example, sorry, it's in Chinese at the moment, but it's, you know, we're here in Hangzhou. So it's the same thing. For example, we preset modes, like the guest can control individual lights. For example, I can go through and do those, but no one really wants that in a hotel. In an apartment, maybe so. So with a hotel, we'll go in and again, let's say leaving mode. And then we'll go for a welcome home mode again. So the lights are back on. So, I mean, that's a really quick run through of how it looks and like what we're trying to build here. So yeah, I mean, that's where I am at the moment in the world. Very long-winded explanation.
Yeah, no, but it's always great to see your tech in action, which is, I think, the best kind of showcasing than just the PowerPoint, as you said.
Yeah, I think so. We have been very guilty of the old PowerPoint slides in the past. And to me, we kind of took a look back into it and we realized that for everyone who joined Tuya, and they came into the company and they saw exactly what we do, it was never a PowerPoint slide that got them really impressed and wanted them to work at the company. Yet we still like to use them a lot. So, you know, in our company, we often have like demo rooms that I showed you a couple of weeks ago, right? And for those, even for me, when I still go in there now, I'll walk in and I'll see how it works. And it just brings a little smile to my face. I'm like, oh, it is pretty good. I do like it. So it's a bit of a geeky thing sometimes, like the smart home stuff. But the solution is really interesting. And I guess we'll kind of talk a bit about that today, but we're going to focus also mostly around, you guys at Apelio, and some of the key points we've got here. So I guess before we jump in, I'll kind of run through some of them, just for those of you who kind of come in a bit late. So what we're going to be kind of touching on today is looking at the benefits of having a platform business model, particularly focusing towards the hospitality industry, and how we're kind of looking at now these tech-first property businesses and hotel businesses prefer to have the right toolbox instead of a finished product. And then we're going to kind of further dive into what tech is available to support a strong return to the new normal. I hate using that phrase, but it's the best one that comes to mind. And then how can it be deployed, and how has it been deployed so far across the world? So on that side, we'll kind of touch on how smart tech has been deployed here in China throughout COVID, which has been really interesting to see. And then also from you guys, you can explain a bit more what you've seen from Apelio about how companies have been dealing with COVID. And then finally, we're going to touch on to what barriers to innovation currently exist in the hospitality industry. And I mean, you know, we're optimists, but I'm sure we have a few barriers that are going to pop up today. So I'm really interested to run through those.
Perfect.
Cool.
Maybe I can also jump in quickly and for the ones who don't know Apelio yet, give a quick introduction to Apelio, which is we are building and have built an API first hospitality platform for all types of properties. So very much from service apartment, long stay, to also independent hotels or hotel chains. And our focus is really, and that's where we have also the conversation today about, it's, you know, not giving an all-in-one solution and say, hey, this is what we offer and you can just choose what we do. But we really aim that the hotelier or the accommodation provider can really source the best apps out of our ecosystem, and then which fits best to their needs, and that they can then be able to have a best in breed tech stack which fits to their operations, and then also allows them to digitize processes and you know, have some nice automation, which something which makes us also stand out from our competition is that we have really this focus on APIs, which we'll dive into in a second, but where a lot of our customers are also actually developing their own custom solutions on our technology. So it goes a bit into a very similar direction when what you guys do in the IoT space.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, the question I have to start with on my side is that when we look at these companies, and I kind of highlighted them when we built, you know, the idea for this was that these are tech-focused hospitality businesses. But do you find it's mostly these kind of young, savvy tech companies who are looking at hospitality, or do your clients kind of range across the board? Do you see more old school companies who are now looking to build their own tech stack?
Yeah, so I mean, especially with us, I would say definitely we like to call them rock stars, so to say, these tech focused, because they take a different approach. You know, they don't look at, okay, I have a, you know, the typical RFP list, you know, these are all my criterias which you need to fit, but they say, okay, we want to have a new look at our business, or we want to develop a new accommodation brand, and we want to make it really digitally driven. We know that the customers, they look for more of a digital experience, but also maybe you can automate more elements in the back. Right. So they don't necessarily just want to pick things off the shelf, or they want to have liberty. They want to create themselves. So they don't choose from a feature list, but they actually go in and look at, okay, what are the best APIs? What is the platform which allows me to build the best tech stack to fit to my needs? And therefore you definitely have these younger tech driven companies or hotels who go for that. But also on the other side, they have it also a bit easier, let's say, because they don't have this whole you know, legacy there, where they maybe have to convert 50 running properties back to a new system or something. So I think that's definitely a case. How about yourself?
I mean, IoT is a little bit different, I guess, because it is fairly up and coming, especially in the hotel industry. And for us here, we see in China, the market's a few years ahead, right? Like, I'm sitting in a hotel at the moment, and I should be allowed to reveal this, but like the average price to be in a smart room here in China is like $300. It's not really an uncommon, sorry, $30, 300 kwai, I'm thinking here with the exchange rate. But anyway, it's becoming standard, right? I remember I went to a shack on the beach a few weeks ago. It's like 1-star plus hotel, you know, they're brilliant, but even these guys using smart locks. So in the Chinese market, it's a full range of hotels. We're looking to go in this direction now, because the main thing we see is that once it picks up a bit of speed, it becomes the industry standard, which for me is, let's say, an outsider being in here is something I find really exciting, because you can see kind of where the market in some direction may be going in the Western markets over the coming years, once there is a more accessible solution. So at the moment, the companies we're working with kind of in Europe and in the US, they do tend to be a bit more tech focused to be implementing this, a bit more forward thinking, we'll say. But the advantage we see for them is that because of what we've seen here and where this becomes the industry standard, and it will start with things like smart locks, like we mentioned, right? And then practical things like water sensors that reduce damage with the property. And then once the guest experience becomes more smart a few years down the line, in the next 5 to 10 years, it becomes expected from the guests, right? And then you'll be disappointed when there's not a degree of, you know, mobile phone control, at least when you're in a smart room. So this is kind of the advantage. I think you probably share a similar view, is that if you can get that first mover advantage in the local market, say in Europe or the US, and you can be the first ones to jump into that space and you set the new standard for the industry, there's a really big advantage there. And it's what we kind of want to provide these companies with, is that we don't want them to just be like providing a new guest experience or providing a new hotel management experience for people in that one company. What we kind of try and focus on, and I guess similar to you guys, is that we want to build smart businesses for these people. So our clients, you may think perhaps because I'm sitting in a hotel, you may think that a lot of our clients are end hotel rooms, right? Or end hotel customers. Actually, most of the time, our clients are mostly tech companies. These are people who see the opportunity to move into the space, perhaps better than a hotel would, and especially during COVID, when a lot of these hotels aren't really looking to branch out so much at the moment, and they see an opportunity to go and grab it. And that's why we really like working with them, because they can be in the local market. And like, we're not a hospitality company. We're proudly an IoT tech company that's moving into hospitality. So like, for us to go and claim that we have the same knowledge about the hospitality market that you guys do, it'd be false. So we focus more on giving the people that need the tools so they can go and do it, which kind of leads us into our first point today a little bit, and that wasn't intended. So, you know, we're focusing on, again, these companies that would now prefer to have the toolbox instead of like a finished product, right? Like, as we see the cloud software market grow over the past 20 years, people have now gone from expecting just to have a finished subscription model that they can plug in and play. And because that's boomed so well, it creates this account fatigue, right? So now when we're running these properties, you can have, like, some people are having 20 plus SaaS programs running, and people like Apelio doing a really good job at trying to make those integrate a little bit more, and you can build those in together. But because we saw that, we first of all had built a SaaS solution for the running of smart hotels. And then we realized actually most of the clients were saying, well, we'd rather actually just build this into our own system. Like, we like what you built, but we're not running 2 systems. We're building something great here, which is, you know, some of the clients you've seen as well. So that's why we set up PaaS, which is what we're really focusing on a lot at the moment, is that the vision that we've kind of built the IoT platform so other companies don't have to. So all the functionality you can see when we run a SaaS solution, which we won't do today, is there to be integrated into your platform. And we get really good feedback from this from people, because when you put it in logical terms, when you see a lot of these, like, let's say the rock stars you mentioned, who are going forward and pioneering the hospitality industry, they're building a platform, and it will generally start with some kind of management software, right? A way to control your hotel, or a guest experience app, for example. And that's step one. And the long-term vision initially, like 10 years down the line, will be, we'd love to have smart device control, the people we speak to. But it's, you know, we're going to hire a team of devs, which is going to be 6-figure salaries, 3 or 4 years to go and build it, which is why, because us as a company, our goal, because we're a broad IoT company, our goal is more to spread the adoption of the IoT platform that we build. So we're really happy to go and offer these tools to these companies and say, look, we built it, build it into your platform and go and spread the industry and speed things up, because we'd like things to move a little bit faster. We saw really good speed with smart home for the first 10, 20 years. But in terms of like a smart industry solution for multifamily properties or hotels, we're trying to kind of give people the tools to push us a little bit faster. And we've seen really good uptake from this when we offer the tools to go and do it. instead of like a plug and play solution, right? And I guess we haven't even announced yet today that we're working together at the moment. So I guess that kind of first of all leads me to say that, you know, Apelio and Tuya, I'm sure we're really proud to be working with you guys. Like you can see today, we'll discuss that we share a really similar vision about providing that toolbox. And I guess without further ado, you could probably explain from your side and not so much on the IoT side where you see that going and kind of what we touched on about giving these people the ability to go and build their own platforms.
Yeah, exactly. No, but absolutely. And great to have you also connected to the Apelio platform and part of the Apelio ecosystem. And it's always amazing to have innovative app partners. And I think that is also the best example, you know, what is the advantage of having an open ecosystem. So the classic hotel technology, you know, I am not going to go through it, but typically it has evolved to legacy vendors or vendors building pretty much all the different solutions which a hotel needed. And it is just that a hotel has also a lot of different requirements. You know, it goes, it is a complex business. And having then one tech vendor who offers everything, it typically also means that, you know, they excel in a certain element, and then there will be less, excellent, let's say, in other elements. And that is also, you know, we have here at Apelio some very experienced hotel tech founders like Uli Pillau, who's been in this game for quite some time. And, you know, this was brought, you know, by the team, by the founding team really there, where they said, hey, with Apelio, we want to make things different. We don't want to just replicate a cloud PMS or a PMS in the cloud and create a cloud PMS, but we really want to see, okay, what is the core there? And it's not necessarily the PMS, which often is just on property, you know, how to make a check-in and check-out and elements, but to really think about that platform in the middle. So a digital transaction platform, so to say, where all the important transactions can go through, and then the information are sent to third-party solutions, so that you have an amazing CRM where you can have all the customer related information. You have a digital guest journey tool where you can go through communication before the stay. You do an online check-in on all these elements. You have a revenue management system which connects and does that. So it is really, or you have an IoT platform on property which connects, so that, you know, as you said, hey, when a person comes in, we get the information, Mr. Smith has booked day X, the CRM saves maybe the information about the guest, and then can tell to Tuya, hey, the guest wants this and this temperature, or this and this light setting, etc. And this is where we can go fully automated and fully integrated. And this is something an open platform needs to be. You need to enable the ecosystem to connect and build seamless integrations. And this is what also the hotels want nowadays. They don't, you know, especially, and we'll talk about COVID in a second, but the cycle has gone faster. Hotels needed to, you know, find new tech or to innovate in certain elements. And nowadays you cannot expect anymore to wait a couple of months until you have some professional services coming around to implement a new tech or a new integration. But so people say, okay, we need an open ecosystem. We need to work with different apps and set a toolbox and choose a toolbox which fits to my needs. I also don't want to overpay for things which me and my property or in my hotel I don't use or something. And then, as I mentioned also already before, more and more are also looking at custom solutions, you know, especially when we go into the world of no code apps, etc. You know, it's things, developing new apps, new tools is going to become easier and easier. And I think the future is in openness and being able to allow people to build their tech on top and to really use it in the best way they can. And we see that already in other industries happen. So why not in the hospitality industry?
I think off that, the really interesting thing that I found, because my background isn't in hospitality, right? Like previously I was working in blockchain, I moved into IoT, and I've been learning about the industry piece by piece. Probably the first thing I learned when I was looking into hotel and hospitality tech was that the PMS market that I see is so saturated. There is so many players in the market, some of which are of course doing brilliant work, but it's the case of how do you differentiate yourselves, right? What can you offer different? And you kind of have to think about what do these not perhaps people right now in the market desperately want. Like I'm sure your vision isn't just for the next 1 or 2 years to expect to explode. It's going to be a long-term goal, right? For Apelio, you see there's going to be more of a tech focus for these companies. And like you mentioned, they're going to be wanting to have their own more customized solution moving forwards. And this is kind of the really interesting thing. I remember that it was someone from our team popped up and said, you need to take a look at Apelio, right? Like this is really what we're looking for. And the vision's really perfectly aligned because it's allowing these companies and hospitality businesses to go and build their own solution, right? And if they want to include smart in that, that'd be great. And we'll kind of touch on exactly how Tuya and Apelio work together with the App Store. And if a company wants to go smart, they can, but we'll hit that at the end. But yeah, like you mentioned, we'll kind of twist on to the elephant in the room, as it always is, and COVID. I mean, there's been plenty of hospitality tech podcasts that run through this. So it's kind of trying to take the different spin here and see what we've seen on our side, both in IoT, first of all, but also I'll try and give a spin on what I've seen being based here in mainland China. It's been interesting, to say the least, and it's been really cool to see how the tech was implemented from the beginning in the hotels. Like I remember I moved back here. I've been in China on and off for like 2 or 3 years, and I moved back here maybe January, start of last year. And I was traveling with my girlfriend for a while, visiting hotels, and even then you walk in and contactless check-in was almost implemented like overnight by people. They're like, right, this is like necessity now, make it happen. When we jump into the IT side of that, it's kind of, there's a supply chain advantage with China. Things do come straight from the supply chain and into the market a lot quicker, which is why the tech gets picked up. But the speed at which some of the hotels here adapted was really, really impressive. Like some of the solutions we kind of saw, of course, contactless check-in is like number one, right? Is it being able to seamlessly move into a hotel, going through a smart check-in machine into your room, sadly, without dealing with anyone. As we move forward, like from our side, from the IoT and smart perspective, we've seen good feedback from this from clients and hotel businesses. But the focus we give, even though we're looking at this sad staff shortage right now, is that having this in place isn't replacing anyone. It's now allowing the staff to go and do their job properly, right? So if you're working at the front desk, it allows you to be a service person. It allows you to be there serving the clients coming into the hotel and not focusing on menial paperwork. So this kind of is where it goes beyond COVID and into the future of how we run our hotels and making more efficient hotels. And then as we kind of move further down the line, we look at things like smart service robots. I kind of ran you through before the call that there is, a little bit of messy bread over there at the moment. And like, I'll run you through how it works. I can send the practical demo later on and we'll pass that later. But that would be at the moment, if I want room service coming to my room, I can use voice. I can say, I need some water, I need some towels, and a service robot will go either to a smart vending machine or to a smart storage room, pick up the towels, pick up the water, pick up the instant noodles that you need, and it brings it to the room. Of course, it adds like an element of wow, I guess, or like technology, high tech feel to the hotel, I guess, but it adds a lot of efficiency as well. Like to give a bit of background about Tuya, we don't manufacture, for example, the robots or the switches or the lights in this room. All of these are third-party partners, which is why we're able to grow so quickly. So when we look at, for example, the robotics company, they give some really, really good numbers, which I can share later about how the efficiency of the hotel will improve by having this robot in place. So they've been uptaken really well here in China, but overseas maybe not so much, because let's say at the moment it's a bit hard to comprehend, but they're coming in. So I can pass some details if you want to take a look. And then kind of back towards a more practical side of kind of what we focus on here at Tuya is better managing the hotel using smart devices. Like if you were to look into our SaaS platform, which I'm sure you have at some point, is that it kind of looks like a really stripped down basic PMS with a few extra buttons, and the extra buttons focus on like the smart devices. So for example, the smart lock is online, offline. The thermostat is online, offline. All of these working together allow me to know the true occupancy rate. So not like when is someone booked into the room, we can of course see that, but how long are they in the actual room for a period of time? And this allows you to better figure out when you can clean the room, reduce the number of contacts again, and better manage the property and manage the staff. So this is kind of how we try and implement the solution alongside the access solution to the building. And then kind of moving forwards is that we look into using things like guest apps, like mini apps, and these were kind of put in place in China early doors. But the difference is here is that, like, I don't know if you've heard of WeChat.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I mean, it's everything goes through that. And so it's kind of a like combination of all these different news sources, right? So in a hotel setting, this was really useful in COVID, is that like it's reminding you of the rules, it's reminding you exactly the processes of if you need to go and collect things, how to be contactless, please wear your mask, if you need masks, they're going to be here. And it's giving people a constant feed without making people get into the habit of perhaps opening up like a mini program, which is perhaps a newer concept in the West right now. So that was kind of another way we saw it coming in. But I mean, these were kind of the key concepts that we've seen, not just here in China, but like also overseas, and more importantly, I guess for our side, focusing on IoT. But for your side, because you're focusing on allowing these companies to build their own solutions, my kind of question was there like a popular aspect? I mean, the number one I can imagine at the moment was going to be contactless check-in solutions, right? But also contactless checkout and contactless payment as well is going to be really important. So is there anything you saw as being like a really popular move for these tech-focused hotels throughout COVID?
Yeah, and I mean, we also work with quite a lot of other hotels, so we across the range. So the first ones who maybe built the most and on it is tech hotels, but we have also normal independent hotels, smaller hotel groups, and so for them, of course, contactless check-in, check-out was a big topic that came quite fast. But there was also quite an interesting story, because it's not just from the adoption rate from the hotel, but there was a hotelier I spoke to a couple months ago, had nothing directly related with Apelio, but very innovative hotel concept in Germany, which had already contactless check-in, digital key, etc. But didn't do full contactless check-in, but mainly still also reception you could choose. Mm-hmm. And she said, the Chinese travelers who were staying there before, they were all doing digital key. The Germans somehow all didn't understand how it works, or all said, no, I still need a real key. Mm-hmm. Then suddenly COVID happened. And that is interesting. Suddenly the German customers actually used the digital key. Mm-hmm. So it also showed a bit before that they were just very reluctant, because they said, for me, the value proposition, I want to speak to a human, I want to get a card, or I want to get a key. But then now where things have changed and we have different priorities, especially hygiene, etc. Suddenly you have also the Germans, for example, as being always quite reluctant to it. And I can say it, I'm German, but it is statistically, you can see that, but they're all more embracing it. So this is very important for hotel concepts to be able to really rely on a fully digital guest journey. You need to have your guests who want to embrace this. But you could also see that a lot of hotels suddenly realized it's not all about just having a check-in, but then having manual processes behind it. It is important to really look at the check-in, check-out process, the digitaler Meldeschein, it's the signature when you arrive. The law has changed also that you didn't until a year ago in Germany, you had to sign the paper by hand. How's the payment process? These are elements which are super important to be able to really automate in the back of house also, because what COVID left us is not just a new pattern how guests are looking to stay in hotels, but it has also reduced the demand significantly. So nowadays it's not about, okay, can I optimize my bottom line a bit, but it's okay, can I radically change my business in a sense that I can still run a profitable business with maybe only 30% occupancy, because this is the reality we are in. And this is something which we saw, and this is also where we saw that Apelio, we increased our customer base by over 300% in the last 12 months. Is that a lot of hotels actually looked at, okay, how can I digitize the whole guest journey? And this is again where it's not all about ourselves. You know, the most of the apps which are connected to it, it's not Apelio. It's we give the foundation, and then we have app partners, because we focus so much on real open APIs and having also giving access to a lot of data and also actions, is that they can really build a seamless experience. And this was something which was great to see. And then I think a third point, which is also super important, but which was maybe in the time where there was no demand, not so much, but now in the times where, you know, knock on wood, things are picking up and have been picking up, we can see that, but let's hope that it continues like that. Is everything which is distribution, pricing related. You know, it's making sure that, especially when you're in a competitive market, that you use, for example, automated revenue management, that you have a good overview, that you really can benefit and make every time this extra €1, because at the moment hotels are really required to be able to work as efficiently and not leave €1 on the table or spend one too much.
I mean, this has been the interesting thing I've seen diving into the industry again, right? Of like the different kind of aspects that, of course, I wouldn't have realized without having the full experience of being in here when we look into things like revenue management as well. And the document process automation, sorry. And like, I've seen some really, really interesting companies really kind of bridge that gap. Because we look at the contactless check-in solution in terms of like an IoT solution, right? Like we try and work with as many companies as possible to try and make this as seamless as we can. But still, there's always, especially in specific markets, going to be a gap that we need to bridge, which is kind of why we like to work with Apelio, because instead of us having to go and find each company in a specific market and see if we can integrate with them, if the hotel says, okay, well, I'm in market X, I need to have a document authorization process. Do you have that in place? I say no, but if you work with us through Apelio, this company is also an Apelio. They can run that for you as well, and we can integrate together, which is why we are kind of really interested in working with you, because it helps us build out that full automation process a lot quicker. Like on the IoT side, back to your point about the cards, the one thing I actually found really interesting on this side now, perhaps when we look forwards a little bit into the market, is that there's still always going to be a key, or at least a fob in place. Even when you go into the smartest hotels, like, you know, when we're in our hotel here, I can technically do everything by just using my face. Like I don't need to bring the card around the hotel or even my phone. I can walk downstairs, come back up using the elevator with my face, get in the room. But still, they'll always give a card just as a backup. Because all it takes is one customer, like you say, to be like, don't like this, especially with face. Like in the European market, we kind of advise against face recognition sometimes, because again, when we look at the function of what it does, it's there to open the door efficiently. And I mean, we offer enough other solutions that are flexible enough. Like I can use my phone on the app I showed you today to open the door, or I can get a code to my text or to my phone that can open the door. And then we also still have the key fob in place. So it's like all about offering flexibility when we look in terms of how to integrate tech into the platform, right? Which is kind of what we're talking about today. And we try and do that at IT level.
Definitely. And I see that also as like, you know, mobile key, for example, of course, you can have with Bluetooth technology, you need to download an app that's a bit more complicated. Then you have IoT, but I also see a lot saying, okay, I want to work with a PIN code. Because there it's, you know, even easier maybe to send it out through all channel communication, you know, send it a WhatsApp, text or something. So there's really, and I think that is the interesting part, is that a hotel needs to look, okay, who are my customers? What service do I want to offer? How do I want to see it? And then look at what are the alternatives and really be able to pick and choose the one which fits best to what they want to achieve. And it's always, as you said, you always need to have a backup plan. And I just spoke to one of our customers, Numa, a couple months ago, where he said also, their CTO said, you know, when you do a fully automated hotel with no staff on property, you need to make sure that the processes are bulletproof. You cannot just, you know, work with like something where like, oh, it's not going to work maybe, or sometimes there's an integration issue, or it is not going to work. And I think that is definitely something always to take in mind, is not to look at just like what's the best case, but it's also like what's the worst case, and make sure that the worst case can always be handled.
I mean, on that point, what we encourage people is that, you know, on the Tuya platform, there's now 400,000 plus devices ranging from scooters to smart bathtubs to showers and stuff. But when we work with a hotel, we don't tell them, yeah, you need to go all out. You need everything here. You're going to go fully automated, fully smart, because it has to come piece by piece. Like otherwise, like you say, all it takes is one part to fail, or you forget how one part works. One customer can't figure out a certain aspect and it's game over. Like even in the room today, I kind of ran through is that it's a thermostat, really, lighting solutions, a door lock solution, and mostly temperature control, and the curtains as well, actually. And that's like simple enough. Even most people don't like to opt for the curtains. It's about making it simple, and actually all of the things that are in here, you can control them like you normally would in a hotel, right? So we don't want to push a guest into a room and be like, sorry, there's no switches in the room anymore. Forget switches, they're finished. It's that we still want to have that option available. But piece by piece, you kind of take one step to the next, and you can use switch and your phone and your voice. And then slowly as time goes on, you'll move away from that and a new solution comes into place, right? Like, because this, again, it focuses on guest experience. Like, even though we're not hospitality people, we know that not everyone wants to just jump into adopting technology, especially in a short-term hotel stay, right? It's about giving people the flexibility to do it. Because yes, we're tech people and we love that maybe adding the technology, or we believe that it will add some value to the hotel. But actually from a hotel perspective, again, it can create one bad review and then they're like, right, it wasn't worth it. So it has to be flexible and it has to be understandable for people to kind of move into and kind of figure it out as they go on. So, I mean, on that point, we can kind of lead into the kind of final thing we'll touch on today before an announcement is the barriers that we see are in place at the moment in the market. And we kind of spoke before about this, and we kind of see similar things. We've touched on a bit today as well. I mean, on your side, we look at legacy solutions, right? It's kind of forcing people to choose one platform. It's like my way or the highway kind of thing. And then on our side, kind of what we see that there's a range of things with IoT because it's such a broad spectrum about how it gets integrated. A big one is account fatigue. Like when we look, we can go kind of a deep dive into different business models over here in Asia and Europe, but technically a lot of what we see going on in Europe at the moment and also the US is there's lots of brilliant startups that will come up that kind of fit one piece of the puzzle. Like they'll build a really good smart energy solution, and then someone else comes and builds a great smart lock solution, and there's plenty around, and you know, so on and so forth. It builds each piece, and we see that as hotel managers come in, they're like, right, I want that, I want that, I want that, but not everyone's an Apelio, right? So they can't pick and choose everything, and there wasn't really a solution that was in place that can kind of cover all the bases. And it reduces this thing that, like we say, is account fatigue. So having like 6 different subscriptions all the time you have to manage. And if one goes wrong, for example, the locks, what do you do? And then how do you keep that working in tune with the energy solution as well? So that was from the IoT perspective, it's trying to bring everything onto one platform. We have all the hardware in place to manage it, and we built the software as well now. And that's what we're trying to push. And then again, it kind of touches back into that first point we had today of even then we realized that wasn't enough. Like even trying to build a platform to cover everything is that even if you think you built the best PMS in the world, for example, someone comes in with, but still someone says, well, I'm building something of my own, so I'm not going to use your system, right? I'd rather just integrate it to my own. And that's kind of where PaaS comes in. And we've seen across the company, because like we're at Tuya, we're obviously not just a hotel or a residential business. It's an IoT broad spectrum, right? So we work with like smart security, smart commercial lighting, and we've seen really huge growth over the past 2 quarters in the PaaS solutions, actually, just because these companies are now getting a bit more tech savvy and there's more flexibility in the solution, right? Like, even though we're talking about hotels and hospitality today, like our PaaS solution, because it focuses essentially on having the centralized control and also individual control of smart devices in a multifamily setting, right? In a property. So it's how do I control the common area lighting, or how do I make sure there's not a leak in room 105, so on and so forth. Is that this can be applied to lots of different settings. And we work with schools or offices who just need the tech implemented into their system. And that's kind of where we see this going, is that like, we're not going to be putting companies into certain categories anymore. We don't see, for example, I'm sure you can give some examples on your side. I have some already in my head, but I won't reveal. But these companies now who previously they go and open a hotel business, and then maybe 10 years down the line, they see the chance to open a restaurant, the typical chain of things. Is that now we see these companies coming in who say, okay, I'm going to go and open a hotel chain, yes, but off that, I'm going to be selling my own branded smart hardware. Or if someone comes into my hotel and likes what I do, I'm going to sell them a software service, right? It's like kind of these hybrid companies that we expect to see emerging over the next few years. We had a really interesting client on our side, a company called Fofu. They were kind of operating in the Southeast Asian market, and we worked with them. They're a big property developer, and they kind of originally started working just with, like a kind of traditional-ish property development business. And then when we worked with them, we were like, well, if you go and install these number of properties with the standard range of devices, then if you stock the hardware, which we can provide and white label for you, you can then sell this to the clients, right? So you can move into, on an apartment level, you can move into like a standard apartment with, like we say, lights, curtains, thermostat. You can upgrade your home. And then it wasn't us profiting from that to the full extent. It was that we give Fofu the tools to go and do it, right? And then now they're a hardware partner for us and they go down that route. It's allowing these companies to kind of think and see the bigger picture and see, okay, how do we go beyond just having one vertical and see how can we grow this and scale it quickly? Whereas, for example, when we look at companies going into the hardware game, this would previously take them, years and years and years to go and innovate a product. And this is kind of where Tuya's core comes in and says, well, we're here at the base. Look, we want you to go and spread this. Here it is, and go and build it. So the main barrier we see from our side really is to do with flexibility, which is what we're trying to change. And I guess you guys are as well.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that there's a lot of, similarities there. And I think what is also interesting to see is that you guys are trying to bring everything together via like under your umbrella, so to say, but still, and that's, I think, a key element is that you keep the expertise of the companies themselves, therefore the innovation stays there. They are just on your platform. For us, we're at maybe on a different stage, etc., that we give that integration level through our platform there, so people can access these amazing new apps and solutions around, and but they still get the different accounts, etc. It's also in the B2B market, you can always see, but where also some of them, they develop some great, they cover the whole digital guest experience, and then the whole IoT ecosystem. So it is there. So what was the biggest barriers, especially for hotels, is often the lack of resources and the wrong infrastructure. So it's not really about just money. You need to have the teams to be able to think differently about projects, to be able to implement these projects, to be able to do that change management. So it's much more it's not just buying tech, as you also said, like just for gimmicks, but you really want to make an improvement there. And so this is definitely there, because a lot of these hotels or hotel chains work with legacy technology. It's as you said, a saturated market with vendors all around, some international, some very local. It's been the whole world of customization and functionality richness, so that at the end of the day you have a huge list of functionalities. Every hotel wants to do their things in a different way, but it hinders innovation. It is just kind of being able to do the next step, but in a very long process. So what we really see, it's all about to have that kind of platform, open platform, be able to, of course, via our app, you have your PMS functionalities for your day-to-day elements, but that you then can connect the other solutions to it. And it's important things there is like no integration costs. The vendor themselves, also the startups, should not pay a lot of money, because they're startups, they're innovating. You give them access to market. There should not be a fee of integration for the hotelier themselves, because again, suddenly they cannot test out new solutions, and therefore you're hindering it there again. And then all about time to market and time to implement. Why do you need professional services and I don't know, just waiting 3 weeks so that an account manager comes back to you to be able to open a new property or to do these things on our level? It's not like integrating chips or something and doing something. It's just this should and can be done by itself. So I think that is super, super important. And this will also, and that's also one of these elements why these tech-driven concepts, they all look at scalability and how can they grow fast. And there, you know, they can do all of that by themselves. It's more and more self-service. And yeah, so I think these are definitely points where, you know, hotels need to make that move and think about more ecosystem and not just think about, you know, what this is my PMS and these are my 3 other tools. It's also like, what are my solutions and where do I want to go into the future?
I mean, off that, the interesting thing from our side, which I can vouch for very strongly, is that as a vendor launching onto the Apelio market, it's been a really, really slick and smooth experience. And the service from you guys has been absolutely fantastic working with our team, often crossing some language barriers with certain individuals. And it's just been handled fantastically, like from what I see on the side here. I mean, in terms of the integrations from your side, like, is there like an average time frame for a vendor to get onto the Apelio App Store?
Oh, it really depends. Can be a few days to a few weeks.
Right.
So the developer can just create a developer account, gets infos from us, but can also start working right away. And, you know, depends on the time and resources and also the complexity of the tool, can be done in a very short period of time. And also on the other side, from the hotelier side, we have apps where you can do one-click connect, you know, and this is something which is unseen of course, not all apps, you know, like IoT, you can do in one click and say, can my light be connected? But you have, you know, tools which in one click you have it there, and the hotelier can test it out for free for 2 or 3 weeks or something to see, does it work, does it fit, the data is sent. So this is where we want to go in the world. So people, you know, like when you download an app on your phone, you know, you test it out, maybe you see what are the functionalities, you get a better look and feel, and then if you think it's right, you will then start implementing it. But you know, I think it's a thing of the past where you need to first wait a few weeks, then there needs to be an integration certification, and then you spend I don't know how many thousands to make sure that it happens, and at the end of the day the problem is still unsolved, and you know, the companies are giving up.
Like on that side, when the point you say about the problem is still unsolved, right? Especially for a lot of these smaller solutions, like for what we do, it's a long-term thing for a client, right? Most of the time our clients don't come to us. Most of the time, sometimes they do and say, we need this now, like overnight, otherwise we're going to fall apart. Normally it's a long-term thing, but like when you talk about that one-click integration, right, this is where it's really effective, because for these small things, for example, I imagine like cleaning management, right, like we need a quick system to be put into place. It's running a bit inefficiently at the moment, whereas before you probably have to go to your vendor and explain, look, I need this integrated onto the platform, how long is it going to take, what it's going to cost me money, it's going to be 6 months plus, we have a big backlog here. And now they can just be like, right, I need that functionality, go onto Apelio and just plug it straight in, and we go from there. And now the hotels
or they develop it themselves, you know, like it's and this is the world where you know, you want to go there, you want to give the possibility for people to do it, exactly. or for third-party solutions, and you say, hey, I want them, you know, I want to work with Tuya because I'm super you know, confident that this will bring value, and I see it, you know, and then maybe you start with one room category and then you test it out, but this needs to be open and flexible so that you can have that, and it's not suddenly such a financial burden, so to say. So
of course, like I mean, like you say, even on a small level with integrating like a simple functionality, right? So we still want people to test it, and with IoT it's the same. We still want people to try and at least just do one room, test it out and see how it goes, and then we kind of build from there. So I mean, just to kind of wrap up today, can we just explain to people how exactly it works and how we work together with Tuya and Apelio? And if somebody wanted to go smart or build a smart hotel or smart hospitality business, how would they do that through Apelio?
So I mean, with us, I'm not sure if the App Store is already your entry on the App Store is already live. But once it's live, you'll have the description of Tuya. You'll have all the information there. You'll be able to connect right away with you guys. You can also even ask, for joint demos, or, if they're not Apelio customers yet, if you want to find out, okay, what does Apelio do and what does Tuya do, and we do that for our ecosystem, and our customers. Yeah, just connect via there and be able to be put in touch, and then from your side, it is quite seamless. Maybe you can then tell a bit more on that side of the process.
I mean, from our side, then once they've connected with us via you guys, like we'll probably connect in with you guys at Apelio, just kind of talk the client through the process. And then generally, because we have a broad range of solutions available, right? Because not everyone's the same, and people, when they move into IoT, they need the flexibility we spoke about. So it'd be like a consultation session that we'd have with them, and we try to figure out where to take it from there. And if they need a SaaS model or a PaaS model on a broad level, and then within that, what kind of solutions are needed. So that's a really brief run through of what we go through. We don't need to go through the whole thing today. So
exactly, that's also with the whole IoT part. It's always there's a bit more of really looking at details, because it's more so unique property characteristics which make a difference there.
Exactly. Cool. Well, I mean, I'm sure we've gone on for a bit there. Thank you everyone who's still here and listening to us. We've gone on for a bit, but it's been a really interesting chat, Florian. And like, this is the start of a really interesting relationship with Tuya and Apelio. And we've been working with you guys for a while now, and we see this going really long term. And I hope everyone who's come today has kind of found something from both sides, either from IoT or what we've had from the Apelio side as well, and kind of giving you at least some idea of where you can go with the future of hospitality and beyond. So I guess, Florian, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much. And also to all the listeners, thank you so much for participating and listening to us chat.
Great. Well, I guess we'll close up there. So thank you, everybody, and we'll see you next time. So thank you, Florian, and I'll see you soon, mate.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.